Terra Sigillata is an ancient type of Roman pottery that is slipped and highly polished. The term Terra Sigillata is also used in modern studio pottery to refer to a specific type of slip that is supposedly very much like what the ancient Roman potters were using. But what is the difference between modern Terra Sigillata and just ordinary potter's slip? And is modern Terra Sigillata anything like what the Roman potters were actually using? These are questions I'm going to answer in this video, as well as showing you how to make authentic Roman Terra Sigillata pottery slip. Slip is nothing more than liquid clay. Potters use slip for all kinds of things, for attaching handles and other appendages, for decorating pots, for changing the color of pots, and, as the ancient Roman potters did, for creating a semi-impervious layer that is easily polished. Clay slip is actually pretty easy to make. You can take most clays, mix them with water, and come up with a slip that's useful for most applications. But Terra Sigillata is not just ordinary clay slip. It's a highly refined clay slip that will take a polish easily. And for that, we need to go through a few more steps. There are many videos on the internet showing how to make Terra Sigillata, but you might be surprised to learn that the way Terra Sig is commonly made today is actually quite different from the way the ancient Roman potters did it. Terra Sigillata refers to a type of pottery with glossy, slipped surface that was made in Europe during the Roman Empire, also known as Samian ware. This pottery was pressed into a mold, resulting in the raised designs on the outside of the pots. This type of pottery stopped being made in the 3rd century AD, and after that, the exact process was lost. We actually have very few first-hand accounts of Roman pottery making, leaving many gaps in our understanding about how it was manufactured. One of those gaps involves how they produced their fine slip, used in making fine Samian ware pottery. In the Renaissance, people began to admire ancient Roman Terra Sigillata pottery, but it took many more years before someone was able to figure out how to recreate their materials. In the late 19th century, a German chemist named Heinrich Schumann was trying to find an inexpensive way to seal clay sewer pipes, and in his search came to admire ancient Roman Samian ware pottery. He developed a method for producing a highly refined slip that, because he was a chemist, involved the use of chemicals that the Romans would not have had access to. This method, with some refinements, is still used today to make modern Terra Sigillata clay slip. The Terra Sigillata that is commonly used in studio pottery today is made using a method that is right out of a chemistry lab, using chemicals, exact measurements, and specialized tools. That process involves the use of a deflocculant, a chemical substance that reduces the attraction between the clay particles, thereby holding them in suspension. Nothing wrong with doing this per se, but this is not how the ancient Roman potters did it. There is no evidence that the Romans were using deflocculants with their clay slips, or measuring the specific gravity, or any of the other chemistry lab tricks employed in the manufacture of modern Terra Sig. The ancient Romans were not the only culture that used highly refined slips to good effect. Many of the ancient cultures in the American Southwest also used refined slips to make their beautiful pottery. How did these ancient people make a highly refined clay slip, such as Terra Sigillata, without the use of chemical deflocculants and hydrometers? Actually, the process is dead simple, requiring nothing more complicated than clay, water, a couple of containers, and employs the age-old practice of purifying clay known as levigation. Start with some clay you hope to use as a slip. Hopefully it is a desirable color, and the purer the clay source, the more yield you will get for your hard work. Let this clay slake in water for several days.
There's a bug.
A bug? You think that bug's gonna get you? Run away. Then get in there with your hands and break up any lumps that remain. Thin out the solution so that it's thin like milk, not thick like cream. You may have to pour some of the material into another container while you work with this thinner material. Now stir up the content so the small clay particles are suspended in the water. Then wait a few minutes for the larger, undesirable particles to settle to the bottom. The amount of time to wait will vary based on the clay you use, so pay attention. Once the non-clay material has settled to the bottom, you can pour the pure clay suspension into a second container. The timing of this step is important. Too early and you will get silt and other non-clay material in your slip. Too late and the clay will have started to settle as well. If you watch the container it is settling in, you will get a feel for when to pour. You can add more water to the first container and do this all over again. As you do this, you will get less and less clay. So you will probably want to stop after about 3 goes, or when the second container gets too full to hold any more. Now, walk away and let the clay settle for at least a couple of hours. When you come back, you should have clear water on top as the pure clay has settled to the bottom. You can safely pour off this clear water, and if you still have more material to process, you can keep pouring into this container until full again. In some cases, your clay will not want to settle. Even after sitting in the container for days, your clay might still be held in suspension. In this case, your clay has natural deflocculants in it, and so you need a flocculant. You need something that's going to cause those particles to be drawn together, and that will help them to settle to the bottom. Vinegar is a super easy and commonly available flocculant. Pour some vinegar into your clay, come back the next day, and you should start to see that settle. Once you pour that clear water off the top, what you have left is a highly refined, pure clay slip. You might even use the word Terra Sigillata if you want to sound fancy and impress your friends. Now, this can be used as is. You can add a little water to it to thin it out, or you can let it sit in the sun and evaporate a little bit if you need it thicker, depending on your needs. You can store it liquid like this, pour it into a jar and put a lid on it, or like I do a lot of times, I will dry this out and store it dry and then just rehydrate it as needed. Now, some of you, for some crazy reason, really like these highly complicated tasks of making things using precise measurements and specialized tools. And if that's your thing, go ahead. You do you. I often use the term in my videos, rocket science. It's not rocket science. You don't have to have these precise measurements and specialized tools. But really, when you're using wild clays, those materials vary greatly from source to source. And therefore, if you have these exact instructions, these recipes for creating Terra Sigillata, those recipes are going to vary in their effectiveness from source to source as well because the materials vary so much. So really, it's better to get a feel for it and just kind of play it by ear. Once you learn how to levigate good, you can make as good a Terra Sigillata as somebody with their special deflocculants and hydrometers. But as I said, you do you. If you'd like to learn more about making specialized slips of different colors for decorating your pottery, check out this video right over here. I appreciate you coming with me today. I'll catch you next time.